Hey everyone, welcome back to White Sparrow Living, Luke 12:6. This is Wendy. Today we're going to be doing 4 Dollar Tree Valentine's Day DIYs, and we'll be doing 1 in a neutral color and 3 in the pinks and reds. So to start with, for our first project, I got 2 of these plastic vases and a buffalo check baby blanket in the baby section. 2 of these sweet pink little birds, and you can see one of them has their feathers are off. 2 of the white candles. Now I already had these from a while back from Dollar Tree, and I noticed that nowadays their inventory on these candles are a lot smaller, so hopefully you can find some larger ones. And then I got 2 of these candle holder plates. These are glass. And then some leftover lamb's ear greenery that I usually get mine from Walmart for $2 a bunch. And then I have some Waverly white chalk paint and some pink chalk paint, but I didn't use the pink. And then my glue gun, scissors, wire cutters, and Chanel stems, as well as some E6000, which is what we'll be using to attach the trays to the vases. So I first start by taking off the stickers at the bottom, and this comes off really easily because they're plastic, so it doesn't rip off or anything as long as you do it slowly. And then I'm going to use my white Waverly chalk paint to paint the entire surface of both of the vases and also the candle plates. So while the paint was drying, I decided I wanted to do some surgery on these little birds anyway. So I took off the feathers or the wings on the other bird, and I'm going to place those on a paper towel so that I can paint them. And I decided instead of doing the pinks that I would do a grayish color. So I just added some of my black paint to my white to make a pretty gray, and I just painted over the entire thing, and it has these little beads on top, and so I painted over those as well and just stuck my paintbrush into it so that it covered all the way, and then painted the tail of the birds as well. And then I went back in with my white Waverly chalk paint and just did some small strokes to kind of mimic what feathers might look like on the tail and the wings. So then I wanted to make 2 little bows for the candle holders, and so I got a straight edge first and then cut a few strips of 1 single buffalo check row, and then I just folded it over and didn't attach it or anything. I just went around and made 3 loops on each one. This is actually going to be a little bit too big, I find out later, and so I made a smaller one. So that smaller one will have only 3 loops, but instead of showing you again, this is how you do it. And then I made little slits on the side so that my Chanel stem would go in between, and then it would poof out easier. So it's kind of like an Olivia bow, but I guess I'm kind of combining my strategy and Olivia from Olivia's Romantic Home. And so I guess it becomes a Wolivia bow. So now I'm going to cut out 4 hearts for each candle holder, and these two end up being too large, but just to show you, you fold it over and then make your heart by cutting out a half of a heart. And then I'm gonna attach the plate to the top of the vase. I painted the top of my vase, but you totally don't have to, and you can see that I just did it with one coat. So using my E6000 and my hot glue, I attached the tops to the vases. And then I'm gonna put my birds back together now that the paint is dry, and so using my hot glue I just attached the wings back to their original position. So I was going to use my pink ballet slipper paint to do the edging on these, but I didn't like the way it looked. It didn't match my birds well enough, so I instead used some gray paint, the same paint that I used to paint the bird wings, and it's a shade of the buffalo check gray. So I just added some water and then made some distressed looking highlights around all of the edges and the top rim of the candle plate. Now I'm going to take some of that greenery and I just snipped off some of the leaves to put together on my own. So using my glue gun, I attached some of the larger ones together and then put some random medium-sized and just made my own little bunch so that I could put that at the top of my candle plate. Now on top of my sprig, I'm going to place the bird. So I pulled out the clip that comes with the bird and then hot glued that sprig to the top corner of the candle holder and then hot glued my bird on top of that. And then I'm going to put some hearts all the way around on the bottom portion of the candle holder. This was a lot harder than I thought just because it's just hard to work with and I'm very glue gun shy now ever since I burned myself. So I put hot glue around the edge and then very carefully placed it towards the bottom of the candle holders. And I did that on all 4 sides, leaving a little bit hanging over and just to give it some Valentine's Day interest. And then I'm going to attach my bow to the front of whichever side I think looks best. And here they are all done. I think they turned out super, super sweet. I love the birds and how soft the whole palette of neutrals and grays look. And that picture is very old. That's my grandma and grandpa, both of whom have passed away and are now with Jesus. But I love looking back at their love, and it reminds me so much of the meaning of Valentine's Day. Now for our second project, I'm using this Christmas red truck that I got from Rite Aid for $10. It was on sale. And then one of these styrofoam hearts from the Dollar Tree, some floral foam, and some of these little pink pearls that come on sheets, some miscellaneous florals in the reds and pinks, and some Queen Anne's lace, some buffalo check ribbon from Hobby Lobby. This is regularly $9.99 but 50% off, so it was only $5. And then some Dollar Tree pink burlap, some lamb's ear, and some of these hearts, well actually just one of these hearts from the Dollar Tree. And then Dollar Tree also carries the greenery, but this I got from my friend, so I'm not really sure where she got it. And then just the usual supplies, a glue gun, wire cutters, scissors, and chenille stems. So I first had to take off the Christmas tree and the little wreath on the front of the truck, and it was just hot glued on there, so it was easy to take off. Now I don't want to do anything permanent to this because I still want to use it for Christmas and any other holiday or decorating that I want to do. So I want to make sure that it's not permanent. So I just set the floral foam inside the bed of the truck, and then I'm going to take that styrofoam heart and make a notch in it so that it stays in place by going onto the tailgate of the truck. And then I'm going to take some of the roses and just cut the stems at different lengths because I'm not sure how long or how short I want to make them. And I did the same thing with the pinks. I really love these pink roses because they have some red at the tips, so I thought that incorporated the two colors softly and nicely. So now I'm going to take some of that moss, and it was actually self-adhesive, which was kind of a surprise. I had never seen that before, so it was really easy to work with. Of course, it's always messy, and that just comes with working with moss, but I just cut it out to cover the floral foam. But in the end, you totally can't see it, so you can completely skip that step if you don't have any. So now I'm going to start poking in my roses, and I do one color so that I can see that it's evenly distributed, and then I'll go back in with my pinks, and then eventually my St. Anne's lace, or no, Queen Anne's lace. It's St. Valentine's Day. So after I get those all in and put together, then I'll move on to making my bow. Here I wanted to show you that if you have a stem that's too short, you can just pull it out and cut a piece from another one that's longer and then just replace it so that your stem is longer and you can have it poke out a little higher. So instead of having a wreath on the front of the truck, I wanted to put a little heart instead. So I took that styrofoam heart, and I've been wanting to use this little hacksaw that I got from Dollar Tree. And so I cut the heart in half very carefully, and attached it to the front of the truck using hot glue, and then later on I decide to add the pearls to the outside rim so that you can't see the styrofoam. So now I'm going to make an Olivia bow by wrapping around 3 times on each side my buffalo check ribbon, and then I'm going to notch it on both sides, very small little notches so that it doesn't go too far, which is kind of hard to control your scissors, so you just have to go slow about it and just do one at a time, one piece of ribbon at a time. And then take your chenille stem and wrap it around, and then poof out the sides. And then I'm actually going to add some of the pink on top of that. So I used that same chenille stem and then wrapped it around the other way after I made the notches in this portion as well. Now I'm going to take the entire bow, and using the extra chenille stem that's already on there, I attached it to the back, and here's where I'm adding the pearls to the heart so that you don't see that white styrofoam. And they're self-adhesive and they stick very well. I was surprised. And they're easy to work with because you can just cut them off to wherever you need them. So now there was a spot where I took the holder of the styrofoam heart off, and so I wanted to cover that up, so I used the pearls again. Now the pink heart, the styrofoam heart, it was just clashing to me. It looks more like a purple, and so I decided to change it out with the red heart styrofoam piece. So I don't know. I like them both. I like it both ways, but let me know in the comments what you think, if you like the red better or the pink better. And I like it both ways, but here it is with the red, and I think it turned out super cute as well. For our next project, we're going to be using some Valentine's Day socks and the bandanas. I'm using the buffalo check pink and red bandana, some white rice. Oh, it doesn't have to be white, but just some rice, and a vase. That's not going to be in the project, but just to use in order to put the rice into the sock because we are making a gnome. And one of these red hearts, I didn't end up using the Queen Anne's lace, some lamb's ear greenery, and then some ribbon. I have the pink burlap and some heart ribbon from Dollar Tree, some rubber bands, those little small ones, and this is roving yarn, which is yarn that has not been woven yet. So we're going to use some of that. And then I wasn't sure what size nose I wanted for him, but I had some beads in my wood supply. And then a doorknob hanger in the Valentine's Day section of Dollar Tree. And then our supplies of a glue gun, scissors, wire cutters, Chanel stem. And we'll actually need 4 of the Chanel stems. And the first thing I'm going to do is take one of the socks and cut it off just above the heel. And then I'm going to take that and pull it over the sides of that glass vase in order to put my rice in there. So that's like my second set of hands. And then I just cut a notch on the package of the rice to pour it in. And I did end up spilling it, but I'm not going to show you that. So I filled it up, and even when you think it's full and no more can go in there, more can. So you just tap it down and keep tapping and keep filling and push it down, and that way you can get a whole bunch in there, and then you can make him tall and skinny or short and fat, however you want him to look. So then I took the rubber band and closed up the top, and then because it was kind of see-through, I went ahead and added a second sock on there because these are pretty thin socks. So it's not really going to show, but if you turn him around, it kind of looks like he has a heart tattoo on his behind. So I thought it was cute. So I just took another rubber band and closed that up at the top, and then cut off the excess sock at the top. And then at the bottom, I'm gonna close it up, but first I'm going to put on my finger protectors because, again, I do not want to get burned like I did last time. So then I used my hot glue to close up that bottom just by folding it over and closing that bottom part up. Now I'm going to make his beard, and all I did was I took hot glue and made a line of it, and then just wound the roving yarn up and down and attached it into that glue. And I had originally planned to cut off the ends, because you can also, if you don't have this, which I got at Walmart, and I think it was like $17, but I love it. But you could also use, I've seen other girls use the cotton mop heads from Dollar Tree, and those are really cute too. But I liked the way this looked without cutting it, so I just went ahead and left it not cut. So now I'm just going to add some more glue to make sure it's secure and his beard stays in place. And then I'm going to decide which nose I want, and I went with the larger one. And so I just hot glued that down above the beard, and then made sure that that was on there really well. And then I'm going to make his hat. So I took the bandana and just folded it in half, and then I made lines of hot glue and took my Chanel stem and attached it to the bandana using a popsicle stick so that I, again, didn't burn myself. And I did that 4 times. And then I wrapped it around, going above his nose and around the beard. And then I had a finished edge. So anytime you have a finished edge, use that so that you don't have to fold it over and add more glue. So I put the raw edge down first, glued it down, and then put the finished edge over that. Now for the top of his hat, I just used another rubber band and pulled it all together and then cut off the excess chenille stems and then just kind of covered over with the overlapping material. And then for his band, I used the pink burlap and wrapped it around and then hot glued it in the back after I folded it over so that I had a finished edge. Now I'm going to make another little sprig using my lamb's ear, and so I just glued some pieces together and attached that to the top left side of his hat. And then I'm going to make a little bow to go on top of that out of the heart ribbon. And then I hot glued one of the bells from that door hanger on the top of that. Then I took one of those hearts and left it on the stem and shoved it down in between the rubber band and onto the top of his little hat there, and then took another piece of the heart ribbon and just tied a little knot. I didn't make a bow because there was already a bow at the bottom, so I just tied that one in a knot. And so here he is, and I think he's very handsome. I should have put his beard a little higher so that it wasn't kind of peeking out. You can't really tell, but I can. And so next time I do it, or if you guys do it, just make sure that you make that beard go up a little higher. So, but I think he's really cute and very Valentine's Day looking and very farmhouse. I hope you guys like it too. So since I had already done 3 different projects, this is a very important step. You need to take those little hearts and eat one. So our final project is going to be a wreath. So I took the 14-inch wreath form and this Happy Valentine's Day red truck. And I like that it's got the wood in the back, so I wanted to show that and not paint over it. And then 2 of these steering wheel covers. One of them's a little furrier than the other, so I'm going to use that for the front. And then some more of the buffalo check wired ribbon from Hobby Lobby for $5. Never pay full price for anything at Hobby Lobby because it will go on sale the following week. And then some more of the pink burlap ribbon so that everything's kind of coordinating. And then all of our same supplies, our glue gun, scissors, wire cutters. I wasn't sure if I was going to need the paddle wire or if the chenille stems would work for this, so I threw it in there just in case. So the first thing I'm going to do is take the steering wheel cover and pull it onto the wire wreath form. And so the one that wasn't as pretty, I put towards the back, so I'm working on the flat side. And then I took the other one and pulled it over onto the front, and so most of the entire form would be covered. And there's a seam on the sides, so you can kind of gauge to see if it's centered or not, and so that it'll be even all the way around. Now I'm going to take my little red truck plaque and attach it using the chenille stem, and I attached it onto the back of the wreath. And I only did it on one side because it wouldn't quite reach and be where I wanted it to be. So I just went ahead and hot glued the rest of the body onto the bottom of the wreath form. So now I'm going to make my Olivia bow, and well, in this case it would be a Olivia, because I'm using the fold over method, and then I have both types of ribbon put together, and then doing that zigzag pattern. I'm going to do 3 loops on each side and then make my notches and attach my chenille stem. And when you get to the foofing part, you're going to alternate which ribbon you pull to the left and to the right. So when you first do it, you'll pull the left, or you'll pull the buffalo check to the left and the pink to the right, and then you'll pull the pink to the left and then the buffalo check to the right, if that makes sense. Now I'm going to attach the whole bow to the top of the wreath, and just using the chenille stem, I twisted it onto the back to make it secure. And then I want to add some tails to it. So, oh, I had to take a heartbreak. And then I cut off 2 pieces to attach to each side. And so under the bow, I lifted it up and then hot glued it under there on both sides, just to look like it was part of the original bow. And also to cover up the chenille stem where I attached it to the wreath, and the hole that's on the other side of the truck. And here it is, all done. I absolutely love this. I love the perky bow and the pinks and the reds. And I don't normally like a lot of glitter, but in this case, for Valentine's Day, you can just kind of go with the flow and be shimmery and sparkly, just to show your love. And I love how it turned out. And here's all of them put together on my mantle. It's not going to be how I keep it, because there'll be more, but I hope you guys liked this video, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up, comment, and let me know what you think. If you're not already, I hope you would consider subscribing to my channel. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a blessed day, and remember to always be the light. Bye.